Former President Donald Trump rarely gives brief speeches, but his desire to give one today in the defamation trial against him was whittled down by the judge. A jury will soon determine how much Trump should pay in damages to E. Jean Carroll. He was found liable last year for defamation and sexual abuse. CBS News correspondent Errol Barnett was in the courtroom for the final day of testimony.
2 days after a joyful win in New Hampshire, former President Donald Trump was stone-faced, testifying in his own defense on the witness stand in New York. Judge Lewis Kaplan presided over the previous civil trial in which Trump was found liable for sexual abuse and defamation of writer E. Jean Carroll. And for this trial, he emphasized no testimony could contradict the previous verdict, which left Trump's lawyers with few questions.
She's not my type.
Including whether he stood by the deposition in which he declared his innocence. Trump said yes. At one point, Trump said of Carroll, quote, "She said something I considered a false accusation." The judge ordered the comment stricken from the record. And when Trump said, quote, "I just wanted to defend myself, my family, and frankly, the presidency," another objection and instruction to the jury to disregard. Trump's entire testimony lasted only 4 minutes. And when he said before taking the stand, "I don't know who the woman is," Judge Kaplan reprimanded him for interrupting. Exiting the courtroom, Trump was overheard saying, quote, "This is not America." Now, jurors return in the morning for closing arguments, and they could begin deliberations over this potential 8-figure defamation sum by lunchtime. Donald Trump, who, by the way, was not required to testify and is not required to be inside the courtroom, John, he says he'll be here Friday as well.
Errol Barnett, thank you. I want to bring in CBS News legal contributor and Loyola Law School professor Jessica Levinson. Jessica, it's good to be back with you again. Let me start with the former president's claim that this is not America. For people who don't understand how these trials go and what this was about, explain why the judge struck so much of the former president's remarks.
Well, this is quite American, which is that inside a courtroom, the jury is only allowed to consider certain evidence. This is one of the hallmarks of our justice system. And when a judge orders a jury strike that, what he's saying or she's saying is don't consider that. So we know that this case is all about damages. It's not about liability. Trump has already been found liable of sexual assault. He's already been found liable of defamation. This is about how much money will be awarded to E. Jean Carroll. So when the former president makes statements that go to liability, that go to whether or not he uttered a defamatory statement, the judge is going to say to the jury, don't consider it. That's not your job. Your job is how much, not whether.
So the political benefit, of course, of saying this is not America makes whatever the ultimate determination look like some kind of aberration, which helps the former president politically. Let me ask you, though, from a strictly legal standpoint, what would the benefit of his appearing at the trial be?
So the benefit is for the jury to look at him and for him to say, I didn't intend for E. Jean Carroll to be damaged. I did not want people to, for instance, engage in death threats against her. Legally speaking, that's really the only narrow thing that could be helpful. Now, there is a good trial strategy in which you don't put a client like Donald Trump on the stand because he might not be particularly sympathetic with the jury. And in fact, the jury heard deposition testimony about him bragging about his wealth, which is not going to help him when they're deciding how much he should pay. But that legally was the point, to say, I didn't want her reputation to be damaged.
So both sides have some closing arguments coming up. What do you think those look like? Is it possible to game out what each side would need to say to make an effective closing argument?
Well, I think, as Errol said, and as you said, there's not a lot for Trump's attorneys to argue in this case, in the sense of we know those statements were defamatory. And so what they're going to argue is that E. Jean Carroll is, as one of her friends texted, that she's a narcissist, that she loves the attention, and that she really wasn't harmed. They're going to blame the victim. For E. Jean Carroll, they will say she didn't want to be here. Look at the polarized climate. Look at what she was subjected to, and award her amount of damages that you think will make her whole. So those will be the two competing narratives here.
And finally, Jessica, I'm always wondered when judges strike things from the record and tell the jury not to consider them, how does one take something out of one's brain one has heard? I mean, how will a judge say that again later, or just, I mean, what's the jury supposed to do with all this theater that just took part in front of them?
So the jury does get extensive instructions. And I will say, I do have faith in jurors. I know this sounds strange, like they saw it. How can they possibly say we're going to ignore it? They don't need to ignore that they saw something. They need to not take it into account when they're awarding the amount of damages. And I think jurors, by and large, take their jobs really seriously and can do that. It's a legal fiction, but it's a legal fiction that can work.
It's an excellent point, and especially since the rule of law and the jury system will be getting some considerable political attacks as the former president goes through the system. Jessica Levinson, thanks so much for being with us.